Ladies first.
Good morning.
Good morning. Today is Thursday, April 25th, 2024. We're here for a work session. And as always, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And since we have a big Ranger fan in the back, Barbara, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Barbara. And as we're going to have to break and say the pledge again, I will have Mr. Gannon lead us with that one since he's an Islanders fan. Okay. I have an announcement regarding the agenda sequence today. We're going to take the first discussion item of Noah Levine and representatives from BFJ regarding the presentation of the final draft of the comp plan. Then after that discussion, we will close the work session and open the special town board meeting as it relates to the comp plan discussion item. At the conclusion of the special, we will reopen the work session and continue with the agenda and the remainder of the discussion items prior to going into executive session. You all got that? Because I'm not sure I do. Okay. Discussion item number 1, matters surrounding the final draft of the comp plan with Noah Levine and others from BFJ. Come on up to the table, please.
Hi, how are you?
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
There's a seat for everyone.
Sorry, you should put that next to
Thank you for having us. It's been a while since we've seen you in person, but we have been very busy. I'm also joined, you mentioned my name, but also Sarah Yackel from our office. Yeah, we're very excited to present both the plan, the full document that's formatted, as well as the draft generic environmental impact statement. We have a presentation just to kind of, very short, but just to guide the discussion, basically to let you know where we are in the process, what the next steps are for kind of getting this to completion, hopefully. But of course, we encourage you to review the document thoroughly. There's going to be time for public comment and so on, so this is not the end of the process, but it's certainly an important milestone. So just to give you a kind of an idea of where we've been, if we can just flip to the next slide. Essentially, the draft chapters, as you know, were posted to the website in February. Those were draft Word document chapters, and we received over a 30-day period, approximately, I think it was 42 comments. We received comments from members of the steering committee, members of various organizations throughout the town, individuals, and then other stakeholders. And so we think we got a fairly diverse view of different issues and things that we needed to address in the plan. We worked closely with the town. We had weekly meetings with town staff to go through a lot of the kind of nitty-gritty details that it really takes a lot of time to go through some of these details, and we thank them for their efforts. And then we met again with the steering committee to go over, just kind of give them a broad idea of some of the big policy changes that we were going to make based on comments. There weren't many, but we wanted to make sure we were all on the same page. And so I think there was some agreement there. And then we worked on the draft plan. As you can see, there, it's formatted. We're still going to put in some more pictures, but we wanted to kind of wait until we've received comments. But it's largely there. There also is an electronic red line version in the Word document, so you can see what's changed. It's a long document. It might be difficult to kind of parse out what's editorial and what's policy, but we just wanted to be transparent about the process. If there are any questions, we can certainly answer those. But before we move to the GEIS, which is its own separate thing, we just wanted to ask if there are any questions about the plan itself and the process, and what the next steps are with regard to the plan.
We just tell the public that it's all like currently online and accessible.
Yes, that's a good point. The plan will be posted online basically at the end of this meeting, once it's been accepted by the town board, which is basically what the action which Sarah is going to discuss is, we want you to make sure that this is copacetic and ready for public review. And assuming it is, we will post it right away.
Excellent.
No, I didn't get a chance, I started to read the draft, and if maybe you can just save me, 'cause I went from the beginning, and I didn't get down, I was really concerned about EPCAL, and I'm concerned about is the ability for emerging technologies, is that gonna be flexible in EPCAL? And I'm gonna give you an example. Currently, you can't recycle in EPCAL. However, there's emerging technologies with like recycling plastic that turns it into something else, right? And so therefore, if it's something that can be recycled and remanufactured, I want to make sure that we are covering emerging technologies because they're coming and they're coming quick. And I think that's, if the language isn't in there, I'd like language in there to depict that.
We can certainly revise it. Basically, a lot of, just to generalize what we've said for EPCAL is that a lot has changed since we started the plan. What we heard from the community was the desire for some kind of a further study, kind of a vision, community-supported vision for that area. And that also could be helpful to define economically viable uses and in working with Dawn's department to figure out kind of the best strategy moving forward, both from a financial sense and also to come up with something that was mutually supported by the community. So we focus more on kind of that being the next step, but we can certainly add in some, a note that emerging technologies and
I think it's really important, because, looking for we're looking to do some recreation in there, but also we need high-paying jobs in EPCAL. All right, so, thank you.
This is a huge milestone today. This is really, really big. We've got a ton of information before us, and it's been put together quite well. I'm very pleased with the work of BFJ and everybody involved. I think this has come together really nice. And I think we had a fair amount of input from the community and the steering committees. I think it was a pretty active run, so we've got a lot of ideas put together, and now we have to make everything sorted out, make it work, and adopt, and everything else coming down the road, but this is huge today.
And to walk you through sort of the next steps, why you're here today and what's to come for the public, it's so nice to hear Noah talk about all the public outreach that's happened, because today actually, depending on the actions you take, will officially start the public review period, at least on the environmental review. And so as you recall, back in July of 2023, you declared your intent to be lead agency and became lead agency for the environmental review. We then, you adopted what was called the positive declaration, which stated you would be preparing a draft generic environmental impact statement in November. We then went through the scoping process. There was a 30-day comment period there to receive comments on the draft scope of what would be studied in here, and then that was ultimately adopted by your board in January. And now before you, and I apologize for the overwhelming, this is not good for the environment, all this paper. There won't be that many printed copies, it will live online mostly. But you have before you now is the draft generic environmental impact statement, which has been written in accordance with the scope. It does analyze the policies in the comprehensive plan, and it walks through what's called, there's a build-out analysis based on some of the zoning recommendations where there were specifics related to zoning. Because your zoning is a little bit more complicated because of the transfer of development right credits, we had to make a series of assumptions. Those are all explained in here, and ultimately came out with a 10-year build-out for the town based only on the zoning changes. It is not a build-out that looks at everything that could be done under existing zoning. It really is looking at the proposed changes and then studies the increment between what could happen under existing zoning in those districts and what could happen under the proposed zoning in those districts. And so that is explained in chapters 1 and 2 of this document. And then the numbers that came out of that build-out are the basis for the technical analysis throughout the document. That's a quick overview. I may have jumped ahead, but just walking you through the next steps. Today, you have before you the documents for what's called acceptance or a completeness review, and then acceptance of the draft EIS for public review. If you accept this today, it will then, as of tomorrow, would start a clock. Seeker requires a minimum of 30 days. I think the proposal is that you would have a special meeting on May 20th. That would be a joint public hearing for the comprehensive plan and the EIS. The seeker also then requires that the comment period be kept open a minimum of 10 days after that hearing for written comments. So your public comment period on the EIS will actually be 39 days long instead of the required 30, so you are exceeding that, which is fine. Following that, we would come back, following the close, we would come back with what's called the final generic environmental impact statement. And that final document really is what we call a response to comments document. It will address the comments, the relevant environmental comments made at the public hearing on the EIS. It does not respond to the comments made on the comprehensive plan. That is a separate process, but it will respond in writing to comments made on the GEIS that are relevant to the environmental scope. So if there are comments, for instance, that say we don't like such and such policy, or we don't, we support such and such policy, whatever the comment may be, the response you'll probably see to that is comment noted, because it doesn't pertain necessarily to the environmental review. So that's the final generic environmental impact statement that we are hoping to get to you sometime towards the end of June, early July. It really depends on the scale of comments we get. Following that, again, you would go through this process of completeness and acceptance of the final EIS. And then after that, you have to wait a minimum of 10 days to adopt what's called environmental findings. You have to do, seeker suggests, or actually requires, you can't do it within less than 10 days, but you should do it within no more than 30. So you are in a little bit of a time clock to adopt those findings. And once seeker findings are adopted, seeker is complete, and then you are in a position to be able to ultimately adopt the comprehensive plan. You can, the public hearing on the comprehensive plan will be running concurrently. You can decide at that May 20th hearing to either close the public hearing on the comp plan, or you can keep it open for an additional period of time for written comments or a second public hearing. We'll leave that to you, depending how that first hearing goes. That's sort of the general timeframes. Things may shift a little depending on meeting dates and number of comments, but we are hoping to be able to have you all be in a position to adopt by the end of the summer.
I hope so.
I know you've been waiting.
Having been on the steering committee since day one, it's very exciting to be here and see what could ultimately be the finished product. So you guys have done a really good job.
Thank
It was a pleasure working with you,
Absolutely.
and I look forward to continue working with you.
I'm not sure what's on. Next slide. Let's just see what else is in here. We've covered this already.
Yeah.
We can go to the next one. So this is just the table of contents of the GEIS. This follows what's in the adopted scope. The technical chapters there in Chapter 3, the environmental setting, potential impacts and mitigation, follow really the chapters of the plan. Those are all the various chapters of the plan, and then there is a chapter in the plan on sustainability, and that's covered in that Chapter 4, other environmental impacts. Next slide. Yeah, I'd already walked through all of this. So again, this is just a high-level look at the schedule, and I think that is the last slide.
Just have to speak up a little bit. They
Sorry.
can't hear you.
Next slide. That's it.
Yeah,
Any
so our
questions?
presentation is pretty short today. I think it's really just to be here and answer questions that you have and give you these documents. And certainly if you have questions about what is next, we're here to assist.
I just want to mention too that at the table we have Riverhead's A-team, and together with the work that you've done and the work with our staff is incredible, and we really appreciate it. We've got some great minds have been put together to develop this, so we're very happy and proud of each and every one of you. Board, do you have any further discussions or questions?
No, I just want to thank, it's a pleasure to work with you, and I know it's tough to get in touch with these guys because they've been working with you, but, they've been real diligent
We're
with
sorry
you.
for monopolizing their time.
No, I'm
For a
glad
good
you are.
cause.
So, thank you.
Absolutely.
Got a lot of reading ahead of us.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. Same thing.
Part of the reason, and Sarah explained this to me, for the draft generic environmental impact statements. There's a bit of repetition in each of the chapters. And the reason for that being is that if, it's supposed to be a document that in the future, if let's just say someone needs to find out information about traffic or infrastructure, they can go to that chapter and it's all there, and they can just read that chapter. And so that's why there's repetition. If it's not really written like the comprehensive plan, even though this is still a big document, there is a bit of repetition. So
Yeah, and the existing conditions sections of each of the technical chapters really repeats from the comprehensive plan. This is viewed as a very technical document. It is not necessarily written to be engaging. It is technical. I find it very interesting, but maybe not everyone will. But the chapters, so they do repeat the existing conditions and then go into the analysis piece.
I noticed that.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, well, why did they repeat? But
Yeah.
I understand
Yes.
why somebody may go here and
Right,
That's
or
all.
if you want,
need
for
to get
instance,
that
you want
background again, so-
DPW to review the infrastructure
Yeah.
chapter,
Right.
you can just give it to them and they don't have to read them.
Exactly.
That springboards the zoning, right? That
Mhm.
generic environmental impact statement allows us to adopt zoning that's consistent with the plan without additional, other than, specific things. Of course, we would do traffic analysis, and other things, but it really gives us a lot
Yeah.
of opportunity to kind of get things going.
Yeah, and the site-specific zoning moving forward, well, zoning's still generic, but anything that's been contemplated in here and analyzed, you can use this analysis as part of the subsequent seeker review. Any additional seeker actions
Beautiful.
will be required to comply with the State Environmental Quality Review Act, but you can, we can write a technical memo, or staff can do that, looking at the analysis in here to sort of cover the analysis that would be needed for that process. So it should really shorten that. And this can be used largely to support any findings you're going to make on zoning.
That's great.
Very good. All set? Okay. All right. Can I get a first and second to close the work session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we will be back momentarily for the special town board meeting. It's going to take a couple minutes, people at home watching, for us to shut down and then start up again and open up the town board meeting. So we'll see you in a few minutes.
Thank you.
They are playing very exciting basketball. Okay, we are back.
Yes.
Okay, this is a continuation of the work session that began earlier this morning. We paused for a special town board meeting, and we'll now continue with the balance of the work session agenda. So we're up to item number 2, and that would be matters surrounding water conservation, the water conservation campaign, and rate tier schedule of the Riverhead Water District. And I would call up the water superintendent, Frank Mancini, and Denise Merrifield.
Hi. All right. Mr. Mancini and I had gone to a conference. He was kind enough to invite me to the legislative agenda for 2024 conference regarding water. And it was a very informative meeting about the agenda and legislation that is being contemplated by the state. And one of the things that was spoken about was water conservation with regard to people utilizing their sprinklers at their homes during the summer. And there were some very interesting ideas. People had different approaches, whether or not there should be a penalty or whether there should be incentives. And Mr. Mancini and I spoke about the idea of giving people the information to be aware of how to go about doing this to conserve the water with their sprinkler system. And I thought it was a great presentation, and I asked Mr. Mancini if he would present it to the work session so people in the public can become aware of how to conserve water pretty effectively.
Yeah, and I would like to thank you for bringing this up because it is a perfect time. This is the time of year where people are putting their sprinkler systems online, and they're either themselves or their contractors are doing that. So it's the time to set those timers and maybe increase technology. We met Mike Dwyer from the Irrigation Association of New York. He's been a huge help ever since we started talking about irrigation publicly, because there's all this technology out there that's going to meet these goals. And like you mentioned, some people, we even thought of regulating it more stiffly, and there was tremendous public pushback when we did that public hearing. And the truth is, we really don't have the resources, nor does anybody else, to start policing actual day-to-day water usage. So I think the best strategy is to give people all the information and advice to water as efficiently as possible, and teach them about what options are there. And then the second thing we're going to talk about is the tiered rate, which, you know, is a behavioral driver to essentially charge the largest users we have a little bit more money once they break into the higher tiers, and make that water a little bit more expensive. So I don't know what we're going to put up first on the attachments. Do we post them, or?
Did you give them to?
Yeah, they have them.
Oh,
I borrowed a presentation from Mike Dwyer. That would be probably the best thing to put up. Do you guys have that attachment? It looks like this. Can we post this? There's maybe...
That's online.
Oh, it's online?
It's online.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll just read it, I guess.
you could put, if you want.
Oh,
you could
where we
put
can
right
see
here
it.
where the camera is.
Technology. Speaking of technology,
Yeah, right over that grate.
right directly over.
Right over there. And then he'll pick it up.
Just want to see if it's upside down. Can you guys put that camera on?
The overhead camera, guys? We need earpieces and little microphones so we can communicate back and forth, like ordering at McDonald's.
He's
I think that
gonna,
would
he's
be-
gonna
Oh,
go
you're
to
gonna
you.
move the thing.
He can
Okay.
move to you.
He's gonna move to that.
Wow. Okay. So.
Perfect.
Thank you. So this is Mike's presentation that I was able to borrow from him. We're going to post this on 22 with other recommendations, and we're looking for more. So we've met with Cornell. We work with the environmental committee. So we want to flood people with different types of information. Obviously, Mike is a certified irrigation contractor, and the one thing he stresses, and I agree with, is to go to your certified professionals for the best advice, because they do have that level of training. Just like I would say, if you really want to learn about water, ask a licensed water operator, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. So the goal is to build the most efficient irrigation system that you can. So he's got a couple of bullet lists, like separate your lawns and shrub areas. These different plantings may require different levels of irrigation. Divide areas into similar hydro zones. So if you have a bunch of plantings that are maybe water intensive, you don't want to group them up with ones that require no or little water, because you'd be wasting it. They recommend to use drip irrigation in shrub areas and flower beds. Don't use spray heads on the same zone as a rotor. Those are different types of, like, the actual thing that sprays the water. So you want them, if you're going to use these advanced controls, you don't want to mix and match the technology. And avoid water landing on hardscaping. He gets a little further into that, but that would be your oversprays where your water's not actually being used for the plants. So,
In other words, you're watering your driveway.
yeah, or the sidewalk or something. And there's some technology that's going to help mitigate that. This is really the actual sprinkler head design and load of each one of these little nozzles and the way they spray. Probably a little bit more than we need to get into right now, but if you're really into this, like some of our locals are, they could use this, but I would get a certified irrigation professional to make those decisions for you. We're always advocating and requiring smart controllers on new construction. These are on-site devices. that essentially control the water you're using based on real-time conditions. There's 2 brands out there with proprietary sensors for weather adjustment, but most of the time they're soil moisture sensors, and the more advanced ones are cloud-based and internet connected, which actually use weather reports and rain data from there to make those decisions. And years ago, we put all the systems on town on these types of controllers. And something like the ball fields at EPCAL, there is no internet service. So we use like a rain sensor, a soil moisture there. That would be an example of where you're using one thing, but if you've got great interconnection, you might use a smart controller that's just listening to the online information. This was something I learned from the Irrigation Association, that New York State now has this as a law. So this has to do with the sprinkler head, and it's a pressure-regulated sprinkler head. And what that's mitigating is, say, water pressure can vary in the water system based on whether we're emptying, filling, or whatever we're doing. So in Riverhead, if you're got your sprinkler on at 5 a.m., you're probably going to experience, maybe it's shooting 2 feet out of the sprinkler head or 6 feet. Later on in the day, when we're on the fill, and you could see 120 pounds of water pressure in your main, because now we're forcing the water to fill, that thing might be shooting 25 feet, and that's where you're getting your overspray onto the ground and paved areas. So now these heads regulate that to 30 psi. So the system pressure we're providing is regulated so that the spray coming out of the nozzle is always the same.
Can be a constant.
Yeah, regardless of what we're doing. The system's complicated, and especially Riverhead, we're large, so we move water around, and it's a lot of high-pressure situations. The tools, like if you don't have internet access or a more advanced controller, you're going to be using these types of rain sensors, and even the average homeowner could use this. These are pretty widespread because we see this in our system, and I have a smaller presentation that I've given out where I can show you in a July or August day the difference of a rainy week versus a non-rainy week. There's that many of them out there that it's a dramatic impact on the water we're pushing through the system. So there's 2 styles, quick acting and a more cumulative irrigation rate. Depending on the smart controller you have, you'd want to use those. They can come in a disc or cup design. The newer ones incorporate freezing protection because people do put systems on early and late, and you don't want it to be damaged. They must be installed correctly. Like he said, you don't want to put it in an area that's not going to be exposed to the appropriate amount of rain. If you tuck it behind the building, maybe it's not going to see the rain that's falling all over the place. You really want it in an open area. And there's wireless versions, so you don't have to run like a wire through your yard. Maybe you put your rain sensor somewhere where you have your important plantings and it's communicating with your controller wirelessly. There's more fine tuning that they're getting into, and again, this is more of a certified installer would be doing this, requiring check valves so there's any leakage from sprinkler heads or back into the system. It wouldn't come back into our system because it requires a double check valve or an RPZ, but you could get leakage through other areas of your internal water system. And that gives you some idea of how much water is in the ground and the poly pipe you need for certain parts of the property. Those are all potentials for leaks. So you want to make sure that when you're not actively using your sprinkler heads, you don't have a leak that's wasting water, and that's going to cost you a lot of money. We see that sometimes on a leaky service line. The property owners, that's where I've seen the largest bills, is where they have a leak and they don't address it, and we're trying to tell them to do that, and they don't realize they're paying for all that water they're leaking into the ground, and it's on their side of the meter. We've had a couple disasters. So the other thing is move water sequencing to avoid applying water in the same area. So you've got your zones, and you don't want to just completely hammer one area at the same time. So that was a quick and short presentation. We're thanking Mike O'Dwyer from the Irrigation Association of New York. And what he wanted me to emphasize is something I agree with. Just reach out to your irrigation installers that are certified, because they've gone through a certain level of training, so you know that they're telling you something accurate.
So one question I have. So now it's time, so I myself can go out and get the sprinkler system up and running. I undoubtedly every year have a couple broken heads for the winter and so forth. So if I go into like a Stoley's Home Depot, for example, and I buy a Toro or a Hunter head, is that pressurized, or do I need to specifically ask for a pressurized head? Like, am I being compliant, or do I need to seek out a pressurized head?
You know, I'm not a certified installer, so I I assume because it's a state law that the ones you buy are gonna be pressure regulated, but there may be some type of grace period where what I would call the stock, I don't know that they had to get rid of all the entire stock.
Right.
But I would ask someone who's more, I know how to make the water and get it into the system. As far as how you spray it all around, it's not my expertise. You know?
That's a great question, you know.
Yeah, it's a good one,
when
because
you're
I
going
really
down the
don't
store
know.
aisle, if you're buying them, are you in compliance or you're not? So,
I had a question, Frank. The timing, the particular time of the day, better time you would recommend
That's a good
watering?
question.
Or
So-
essentially at nighttime.
Yeah, well, so almost everybody waters from like 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. And the driver there was, you were gonna waste water through evaporation if you water somewhere other than that. But then I see that this is becoming a problem for us because you've got everybody grouped in and we're producing 20 million gallons a day and it's all in this narrow window of time. So I'm starting to think that those restrictions and those recommendations should be much more open. So I think if you say live in Wading River where it's maybe hilly, not exposed to heavy winds, and there may be trees, watering during the day might not be the worst thing. But if you're in Calverton, and I learned this through when we had our public hearing, after it didn't go well, and afterwards I had all the irrigators and the non-irrigators and agro come to the water district, and we had one hell of a meeting where we had real experts in the room. Bayrot was there, Keith Lewin, the environmental committee, and everybody, Cornell, everybody had a slightly different opinion as to how this should go. So I think that as we get more into this, we want to have a wide range of recommendations when you should water, and it's really based on your exact system. So if you have, say, all drip irrigation, maybe you should water in the middle of the day where evaporation's not a problem. But my most basic advice is if your neighbor is watering, you should pick a different time to water, because that'll spread out the demand, and it'll be better for you, because if everybody's watering at the same time, not only is the system struggling and maybe you're going to get lower pressure, but even the water main in your neighborhood might not be. You might have a 6-inch water main that was originally designed to provide you with drinking water to your faucets and toilets. If everybody in your block turns on their irrigation system, the pipe might not be big enough, even if we've got plenty of pressure to distribute that much water. So I think the message we want to send is pick a time where your neighbor's not watering and try and be a little different, so we get our usage. The more our usage is spread over at a wide period of time, the better it is for us. And I think the customer will get a more consistent pressure and, water volume. So there's no simple answer there. And I think we'll continue to work with the Environmental Committee, continue to work with Cornell, and provide as much information as we can as to maybe what's best for you.
you want to recap the public? We passed legislation 2 years ago about like water restrictions, odd and even days and so forth.
Yeah, we have a recommendation now for odd and even days, but then we learned that older controllers, you can set them for every other day, and because the months in a change,
Right,
the days in a month change, that you would be out of compliance.
Yeah.
So that's where I was starting to think, well, in a perfect world, everybody's got the same equipment, but that's not true. So that's why I'm driving the message of just pick a time that's different from the people around you. And maybe your neighbor doesn't have drip irrigation, so he's at 5 a.m. Maybe you can pick a different time. We just want to spread the usage out as best we can.
Interesting.
Yeah, everybody should be sending the same message in Suffolk County, because we're all and Nassau County, we're all experiencing the same thing. And that's why these meetings that you went to I was really thankful you and Bob Curtin came, because the water business is serious, and you see all those big players in the room. There's a lot going on here, and all the other issues you guys are helping me with. So the one thing we did is the tiered rate, where I'd like to post these now. Can you put that camera back on? These are the original memos we sent out when we did the tiered rate, so it has the old town hall address, but that's not really the important information. We haven't changed our tier. So we sat back and we watched the Water Authority and other water suppliers implement the tier first. And some of them went well and some of them didn't. There was tremendous pushback at, say, American Water, that their tier was too aggressive. The Water Authority even adjusted theirs. So after a couple of years, really Robin Halpin in my office played the lead role here. We didn't hire H2M for any type of study. We did this all in ourselves. And ours is very similar to Suffolk County Water. We give you a little bit more water. So on a 5/8 or a 1-inch 5/8 service, you don't hit the tier till 90,000 gallons. So you're going to be charged $1.95 for the first 90,000. And if you're not irrigating, you're never going to break that tier. But if you decide, gardening is your thing and you want to irrigate a bit, from 91,000 and up, you're gonna be paying $2.75 per thousand gallons. These rates are still much lower than our competitor, but it does discourage aggressive water use in a time of year when we need this type of help. A 1-inch service has the same, a tiered rate of 90 with the same pay scale. When I first did this, Tim, you asked me a question, I didn't know the answer. Why did it look so small for the 1.5-inch service? So the answer is that the 5/8 and 1-inch are considered standard residential services. They're billed quarterly. Once you get to 1.5-inch and up to 10-inch you get charged monthly. So that's what we consider a large water meter at the Riverhead Water District. Obviously, a 1.5-inch is not common. I don't know of a single one we have. But you start getting 2-inch, 3-inch, and up to 10 for some mobile home parks and stuff. So that's why you see the adjustment for the monthly service charge and the rates, the actual tier. So like with a 1.5-inch service, you don't start paying a tier to you have to use 290,000 gallons of water before you hit that tier. But the rate is the same as far as once you get over that tier. Again, much less than our competitor, but it gives us help if you're one of those big users. And then the other important thing is a dedicated irrigation account is charged at the conservation rate of $2.75 per thousand, right from usage one. And in Riverhead, we have quite a few of those because we're a sewered area, and I think Riverhead should get more, should be like commented more for having such a good sewer system. But one of the things is it's based on your water usage. So if you're irrigating a lot, your sewer rents would be really high. So a lot of people in the sewered areas of Riverhead have come to the district and they have a separate account, and with Michael's approval, they can remove that usage from the sewer rents because none of it's going to the sewer plant. So they're saving a lot there, but it is because it's being used for only irrigation, we do charge you the higher rate right from gallon one. So we're doing our best to sort of discourage you from using an excessive amount of water, but we also understand that people like plants, like myself, and like to garden. So you want to be able to use the water. We just want you to be careful about it. So I think that's about it.
Yeah, we're gonna go check out your lawn today.
I have Zoyga grass and never water ever.
Oh, you're so good.
I just don't like mowing or paying someone else to do it. So, but I am an avid gardener and I like plants. Even Barbara was involved. Remember, you get a new fancy planting, you got to water that thing more than, 10 years later it may be more established. So there's a lot to this, and it's very serious. It's the worst public hearing I ever had, and people freaked out and went nuts.
That's why we're just trying to give them ideas
Yeah.
on how to keep their water bills lower,
Yes.
how to do this.
Yeah. I always told the kids, turn the water off when you're brushing your teeth, because they'd be in there, the water'd be, you hear it running full force, just going right
Yeah.
down the drain.
We were just,
Simple little things.
Yeah.
Barbara Blass's comments, we were just talking about that at the Environmental Advisory Committee last night. We were all saying, what happened to all those commercials that you used to hear about, turn off the water
Yeah.
when you're brushing your teeth?
Right.
And I commented about one I recall, don't be a wasteroo, a water wasteroo. We were trying to say, where are those commercials now? Come
Yeah.
back.
We should be seeing that from the feds because just that latest PFAS rule means that any well we have with detection of PFAS, thankfully we don't have that many, will require a set of carbon treatment vessels. Now that's costing us $2.5 to $3 million per set. We're very good at getting grants, and we would pursue litigation to recover costs, but the truth is if we don't get any of those things, we've got to pay for that treatment anyway. So we're at a position where it's costing us so much to make drinking water because the rules are very strict. So we've got to really make sure that the drinking water we're making is not, 70% of it's sprayed on the ground right now. We've got to rein that in. So somebody like me advocates for private irrigation wells. Now, the regulators don't really like that, but I see that as a tool in the toolbox. So I think the more options we provide, the easier we mitigate this problem. And it's not really going to be about legal enforcement and things like that. It's about providing options that fit with you, because that's what I learned from when we tried to regulate it, was that everybody's a little different, and what they need to do to satisfy themselves and help us might be a little different.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Frank. We
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you for having this.
Interesting as always.
Okay, thanks so much.
we will move on to item number 3, and that's matters surrounding the introduction of Plant a Tree to Honor a Veteran campaign at Veterans Park, and turn that over to Councilman Rothwell.
Thank you very much, Supervisor. All of our parks, you know, you've noted, you know, sure, we can put that right up front. All of our parks, you know, do need, you know, funding in terms for beautification and so forth. And the Veterans Advisory Committee has always looked at different ideas towards honoring our local veterans, here and far, family members. And so they've come up with a plan to beautify Veterans Memorial Park in Calverton. So it's in an ideal location right across the street from Calverton National Cemetery. And so what we've come up with is we're fortunate now, and I thank you, Supervisor, we've got our funding in place, so we have a new parking lot coming. We have new sidewalks being installed as well, and the septic systems. There's a lot of things going on there, and we're just looking to, upon that completion, be ready and willing to add some beautification components to the park itself. So the Veterans Cherry Blossom Tree idea, we came forward, and basically that anybody within the town can purchase a tree to honor a veteran. It could be somebody that is a veteran or somebody on active service, and they'll have 2 different options. These are mature trees. They're about 6 foot in height, and they'll be able to say in honor of, you know, Michael Smith, United States Marine Corps, or in loving memory of, and they're going to be on a 12-inch by 6-inch granite slab, so the name will be placed at the foot of each tree. So the idea is that when we arrive in Veterans Memorial Park, we want to have different areas, so we may start where the new parking lot is, where the current construction is completed. We can do like line the parking lot with all beautiful cherry blossom trees, and then around the walkways, we can also continue on to like where the dog park area is, pickleball, and then eventually over towards the baseball field. So the whole idea will be really to beautify the entire Veterans Memorial Park. We picked a very particular cherry tree that is typically blooms in the end of May, and we selected that particular tree because it should hopefully coincide right with Memorial Day weekend. And so as we look into, we're kind of foreseeing the future that trees begin to be planted this year, but next year, during Memorial Day weekend, we want to have perhaps a cherry blossom festival where people can come and gather in Veterans Memorial Park. We'll have specific events there, and hopefully it will time in with Memorial Day weekend towards the blooming of these trees. And I think that lining them all up, we have teamed up with Jamesport Farm, and Tony Cagliano has been instrumental in going to be providing us with these 6-foot trees. The cost is expensive, so it is $500 for the tree, and then it's $150 for the granite marker itself, and then $25 just for the installation of the marker. And so we're looking at a total cost of $675, but I know there is an interest out there. A lot of people have already expressed, like, oh, I heard this is coming about, and you don't have to be a resident of the town. It could be on it. I would love to purchase a tree for my father-in-law who has since passed away, but was in the United States Marine Corps. And so it's really about like all veterans within the area. And because we do want to get a large number of trees, because I think it really, you know, if we start planting them in rows, it could really be a beautiful setting there. And we'll plan them accordingly to add some picnic tables within the area so you can kind of sit amongst them and so forth. And having walkways where families can go down and visually look at and find the one particular granite marker that pertains to their loved one that they selected the tree for. So I think it's really a great project. I think it's going to help beautify the town parks. Because we're always on limited funding, we're asking the public to come forward and honor your veterans. We started the Hometown Hero Banners program, and that has been absolutely an incredible success. And so we keep tapping onto building and grounds to add more hangars in town and more. And we've kind of filled up all of downtown, and we're in Jamesport, and we're looking to expand that project into Wading River this year as well. So people generally want to show support for their veterans and loved ones. So I think this could really tackle 2 things. 1, honor your veteran. 2, beautify our parks and recreation. So I think it's a great program moving forward. If anybody has any questions at all.
Has this been discussed with the Rec Advisory Committee?
Yes, so we had a meeting just 2 days ago and mentioned it to them as well, so they're also excited about it, because because of the lack of funding that's always in hand. You know, I said to Ray, maybe we can get some picnic tables and so forth around the tree areas and sitting areas and do that. And so when it comes time next year, for Memorial Day weekend, it would be nice for the Veterans Advisory Committee to kind of team up with the Park and Recs Committee as well and say, we want to do like a Cherry Blossom Festival at Veterans Memorial Park. So I think it'd be a great event.
That's great.
Yeah, I think it's great for the environment. Planting trees is always great, and
Yep.
the fact that you're picking a tree that'll bloom around Memorial Day is fantastic. Is this a form that'll be online?
So yeah, so if everybody likes the program, we've put resolutions in for the next town board meeting, and then we can vote on that to establish it. I did speak to Mr. Rothar, and he would, our financial administrator would basically set up a separate line of accounting just to accommodate, so as the funds come in, people can send checks payable to the town of Riverhead. They'll be placed in a separate allocated account for that, to purchase the tree, the granite marker, and the installation, so. And then, so we'll keep track. So it's not something in which it is expensive, but it's not something in which the town is making any money. It's just to be able to overall cover the costs of it, so.
Does
It'll be
beautify
at no
the
cost
park.
of taxpayers and beautify
Right.
the park.
Great,
Yep.
Wonderful.
looks good.
Also, I think, Ken, you mentioned to me that they're gonna wait till they get X number of trees ordered to do a planting. Like if you order one today, they're not gonna plant it tomorrow. They're gonna wait till they get like 5 trees or 5 orders and then do them in groups at a time when they go up there, just so people
Exactly.
understand that.
So if people start ordering them right away, yes, they'll be planted in groups of 10. That just seems to be the most cost-effective way to get a crew over from the farm to come over and to dig the holes, check the soil, complete the plantings, staking of the trees and when necessary. But we're going to start taking orders as soon as we pass the resolution. But the idea also is that we do have parking work that's going to be taking place, hopefully very soon. And once the curbing is in place and we can kind of do that groundwork around it, we're kind of setting the stage for being ready for planting. So,
Good.
but we want to kind of get a jump start in selling them so we can order them, and it'll take a little bit of time to print the granite markers. But yes, Supervisor, we expect to kind of plant them in groups of 10. And the idea too is that, it might not be ideal to plant them in the middle of August. We don't have irrigation up there, so it'll kind of be like, we're looking, if we get going right away, we can get some spring plantings in, and then kind of, conclude in the fall season, the cool weather.
Good, awesome.
Okay,
Good
that's
stuff.
great.
All right.
That's great.
Okay.
On to your veteran.
You know what, I'm gonna go right to number 5, since you're hot on the topic.
Sure.
Matters surrounding sidewalks and site improvements at the ice rink. I was
Sure.
talking about that, Cal.
Put this right up there. Chip, do you have them, or you want them in the center? You got them? You can do it that way? Okay. Okay, I'll leave it be and let you zoom correctly. So, we've been working obviously in hand. Peconic Ice Hockey is the manager of our ice rink here in Riverhead. And in the initial plans, we always spoke about building a second outdoor rink, which the construction has begun. During the summer months, the outdoor rink will be deck hockey, and during the colder winter months, it will be ice skating. And so they're just going to be doing some projects around there to enhance the overall area and the approach to it. So we have sidewalks that they're looking to install, and they're going to cover the cost with funding that they've raised through donations. So it's not, they're providing those costs. So again, it's not taxpayer dollars. It's through their fundraising efforts. And so the outdoor ice rink is under construction now. We were extremely fortunate and grateful that we've received the donation of bleachers from Peconic Bay Medical Center and ROTHWELL Health, and they've donated those bleachers, which will sit 280 people. And so Peconic Ice Hockey is asking to basically to pour a concrete slab along the outside of the ice rink, because it's not just for ice hockey, but we would love to see winter shows and events and so forth outside, and maybe a nice outdoor tree lighting, and create our own Rockefeller Center here in Riverhead. And so, but we need sidewalks to access the rear ice hockey rink, and so that we also want to make sure that for our emergency personnel, in terms of being able to wheel a stretcher to the back and having a nice solid sidewalk. They're also going to add a second fire access road as per our fire marshals, so we can put that in place. They have a Zamboni garage that is there, and so with the Zamboni garage, it's small. We have 2 Zambonis for 2 rinks. Oh, he's got it, perfect. And so with the Zamboni, they are looking to expand the garage for that second Zamboni, and then just to be able to have additional tools and, you know, basic landscape and other things and hoses and so forth that you install in that facility. So they are looking to expand the Zamboni garage. And then they're also going to create outdoor locker rooms. And so for the outdoor rink, you know, currently our indoor rink, it's on Friday nights and other games, it's full to capacity. And so they've even had to break up some of the public skating into different age groups because it is greatly being utilized. So they'll need additional outdoor locker rooms, and so that, you know, when one team is still, you know, at the conclusion of their game on the ice or activities, figure skating, we're going to try to get curling going on, and so when these events happen, and, you know, while one is finishing up, the other's already in the locker room changing, getting ready to go out there, so it utilizes the best of its time. And for any weather, because he is going to be around, and snowing won't, you know, snow or cold won't stop us, but at least they can be more heated in at least in better elements during that time. So they're looking to create those locker rooms right alongside. That'll be on the north side of the facility, so it'll have sidewalks to the locker area. You know, they've been incredible, Kanakaki Foundation, towards raising funds and money to do this through different events throughout the year, and especially, you know, again, with the assistance of the New York Islanders helping out and contributing as well. So this was part of the initial plan overall, was like, we're gonna need a, you know, was to do a second rink so they can have tournaments, especially during the winter months. You can have, you know, multiple teams playing at the same time and build tournament schedules. So what you're seeing over the right is just a shaded area. That's just that we've asked them to kind of say, like, well, you know, we're currently doing a sports complex study and, like, what will be needed in the future. So the idea in the future was that someday there will be built a double indoor facility of 2 ice rinks inside with, you know, larger scale facilities with you know, the locker rooms indoor and a restaurant, food, snack bar, those type of things, and so forth as well. And then we will always keep that dome in place. So the dome that is currently being used in the future, so everybody kind of knows that the planning of a double indoor rink in the future, the dome could eventually be transitioned into like indoor tennis, basketball, any other facilities that we want, indoor soccer, lacrosse, whatever one deems. So that is current, the bubble, as we say, is our town facility. So it's owned by the town, and Peconic is simply being the manager of the complex. So that will always remain there. And, you know, we do have a deck hockey rink over in Stotsky Park, so we'll always intend on keeping that outdoor rink, you know, for deck hockey year-round and other things, you know, once they move into a larger scale facility. So I just wanted to kind of, I asked them to present this because they're going to be seeking some building permits to get these sidewalks and concrete pads in place, and then they do need a permit for the locker rooms as well as the Zamboni garage. But it's really about keeping the town board appraised on what's going on and what everybody could see is the future side of it and how it's developing, and open for comments and suggestions. But again, it is an incredible facility, very, very active, with multiple events taking place. We just had our honor roll of our free of charge, had free skating night for all the volunteer firefighters, EMTs, police officers. We've done, you know, town employee nights and things like that. So they're doing a lot of activities, just, you know, at no charge for the public to come in, see the facility, enjoy the facility, utilize it. It's our town park. It's you know, it's our facility. We want the general public to enjoy it. But I just want to at least give everybody an idea of the future foresights, and to kind of seek your guidance, suggestions, and support towards just, you know, kind of, now we've got, the greatest thing is that we've got a $2.1 million dome built, and we got an indoor ice hockey rink, and for other services well up and running, and now we need to kind of work on the outer infrastructure around it and so forth. So.
And this comes at no cost to the town. This is Peconic Hockey paying for all this.
Yep, so they do an annual golf outing, which is probably their largest fundraiser each year, and then people like Mr. Gooddale has been immensely, you know, financially supportive, and Riverhead Building Supply coming. Edgar's just been tremendous in towards donating funds to it, as well as the New York Islanders have been instrumental, and so it's been great. And so do fundraising efforts on their part that's allowing them to keep expanding this.
Maybe we could reach out to the Ranger organization and see if they might want to help out here also.
I thought the
Maybe
Rangers were a
islands-
struggling organization. No,
I'm
I'm
not
not sure. Okay.
sure. I think that'll be determined in the next couple of weeks.
To display this thing, oh boy.
Good one.
So that's
Okay.
just the outlook, and it also is a little changing of, last I'll leave you with is fire access and so forth. With the new parking lot coming in, we want to make sure that it's very easy for ambulance and fire vehicles to maneuver around. So there's a current fire road that's kind of on a 45-degree angle, but where we're concerned about continuous parking and making sure that it's not blocked. So the new parking lot, which is shown in the front there, is going to kind of conclude all that. The parking lot is for everyone, so it's for people using the bike trails, people going to pickleball courts, and riders and so forth. It's there for everyone, and so a nice paved parking lot is going to make things a lot easier, especially for handicap, being able to access the car in and out without any potholes. We're also going to have a crosswalk that's going to go directly from the new bathrooms. Some people may have noticed that the new portable mobile restrooms have arrived, so it's beautiful inside. So I don't know, many people talk about beautiful bathrooms, but it really is. It's kind of a luxury style mobile unit that's there. The concrete structure that we've already allocated funds for, we expect to arrive hopefully by the end of June, and that's going to be put in place. And then that mobile unit will then be driven over and installed over by the baseball fields on the other side. So we'll then, the goal is by summertime, we'll have bathrooms on both sides of Veterans Memorial Park. As the Alternative Transportation Committee has always said, Bruce on the committee, Joanne has always said it's the jewel of the East End.
Yes.
So that's his continuing comment, and he's absolutely right. And so we're adding infrastructure to it.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you, Ken.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to matters surrounding an update on boards and committees. Joe, you want to start?
Yeah. All right, I kind of have had a little bit of a light month this month, but we're excited to remind everybody that Anti-Litter is having their spring cleanup this Sunday morning here at Town Hall, 9 a.m. Everyone can meet, and we have lots of different destinations where people can go off and help clean up the litter that is around our town. It's going to be a fun event, so that's this Sunday at 9 a.m. The Beach Committee. We have anybody that needs their beach sticker, you can go upstairs here at the new town hall, and you can get your beach stickers there. They are giving out, we have pamphlets for 10 rules for driving on the beach. So if you're getting a sticker to be able to bring your
4x4
truck down on
sticker, yeah.
on the beach, we have rules that everybody needs to follow. There's also concern that some people may not be aware that you do have to wear bathing suits on the beach here in Riverhead. So that was kind of a new one. They were asking if possibly there might be something in our code that lets people know that they have to wear a bathing suit.
Well, sometimes, Joanne, when I go down to the beach, it's so crowded I can't find a spot, and I find it suddenly if I go down to my Speedo, I have all the area around I could want. So I don't know if that's just the way you...
I couldn't believe that the conversation popped up, but it's a real thing.
Understood.
And also we were discussing that for the parking lot attendants that are at the beaches, a lot of times they are primarily, high school students, but the seniors, they can apply to come and have that job as well, something to do maybe one day a week or whatever. So that's always an option. And then open space, they're looking to kind of be more out in the public eye and would like to be part of what you were talking about with your media events and stuff like that. And they would like to come in to one of our next work sessions and just discuss the different properties, what they're doing. They'd like some exposure.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to invite them
Sure.
to join us. So
Anytime.
otherwise, that's about it.
Good. Bob?
Sure. Ag Advisory, I think I reported on last time. Anti-Bias Task Force, which is a great committee. They're doing a program called Food Unites. Dates to be, that will be forthcoming. And they're going to work with the chamber and the bid. Basically, when you go to restaurants for it, they're going to depict a certain length of time. It might be a month long, and whatever participating restaurants, you'll get a discount if you mention the Anti-Bias Task Force, just to go around and sample all different types of foods, etc. That's business advisory. Nothing to report there. I will next time. BIDMA. So I want to personally thank Steve Shiraga for everything he's done with his tenure as the president of the BID. He's been phenomenal. He has since resigned, and there is a new interim president, and it is Sean Kenna. So again, as the board convenes, I think in May, I'll have another report on what's going on there. Chamber of Commerce, I'm more of a liaison there, but they do what they do. Department head.
They had an interesting meeting yesterday set up
Yeah.
at the Suffolk Theater.
Yeah.
That was with the Suffolk County Alliance
Yeah, the
of
Suffolk
Chambers.
Alliance of Chambers came out here. The Riverhead Chamber of Commerce is a member of the Suffolk Alliance of Chambers, which does a lot in terms of advocacy for the entire county. And they also work hand in hand with the Nassau Alliance of Chambers. And there's a lot that goes on between those two county groups, along with local chambers, in terms of government work and looking at what's going on in towns across both counties. And there's a lot happening.
Very helpful with the small business people.
Yeah, and I want to thank, as a department head liaison, working with the tax receivers and meeting with Dime Bank to really get the encouraging people to get their water bill online, pay online, and it just makes things simple, and it looks like that's all going through now with ACH. It's available, and the Dime Bank has been very good with that, and you can do it through your own ACH with your bank.
Is there a charge for that?
No.
No.
No, not if you do it through your bank. There's no charge. Unless your bank charges you now, which I doubt they do. I mean, I don't get charged. I've been doing ACH forever. East End Arts, I'll let you know what's going on when they let me know what's going on. I can usually announce it during a work session or a town board meeting. The IDA has been, they approved, as the press has already reported, the Heatherwood project on Main Street, which will go through. Nothing that Denise and we're having fun with personnel. And that is about it for me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Ken?
Just to update the public to make sure everybody's aware of, we do have monthly traffic safety meetings here. So if you have any personal issues in the town, your communities that you live in, you are our eyes and ears. But typically, like this morning, we discussed placements of stop signs, and then, but when suggestions of crosswalks and other safety issues. Parking is a big issue overall. So that does meet, each month. So people are welcome here. You can send, if you're working and you can't be here, it's simply send an email. We have a discussion. It's great because we have the chief of police here, along with our highway superintendent. So like when we make a decision, it's like it's go right to it. So chief agrees we're gonna install a stop sign, then Mike is out there doing it right away, and so forth. And so just let the public know they're welcome to come to our traffic safety meetings each month. It's that time of year, springtime is coming, so please keep a close eye out for our highway workers that are out there. They're going to be working on some crosswalks, and repaving will be coming soon, so just take caution on that. In the Parks and Rec Committee, they have worked on for quite an extensive period of time to creating a priority list of things that need to be done in our park. And again, we need funding for our parks. We're great to hear that we were able to get funding, in another outlet for the Veterans Memorial Park parking lot up there. So they're great, meaning that we're leaving that park and rec fees that have slowly been collected so that they can use on their priority list and basically check off that veterans parking lot. So they were really, really pleased about that. So thank you, Supervisor. And other things, the helicopter task force, it's generally quiet during the winter months, but we just sent out an email to our members to confirm if they want to participate. But that's really is a meet on an ad needed basis,
Right.
And so also working on code revision. We kind of cleared the docket, I think, just last month with all the things that we seem to have been working on for a number of months. You saw a lot of resolutions go forth, and now we're in the beginning stages of reconsidering some other items in the future. But
Good.
so simple, but I did mention about Veterans Advisory Committee, so we talked about the Veterans Cherry Blossom Tree Project, but I really have to thank and commend Tom and Kerry Nijon, Kim Judd. We are out there where we've begun to hang the Hometown Hero banners, so it is a large task at hand, and so we'll be out in Jamesport tonight and tomorrow to get those ones up. We're working on the ones on Main Street and then continue to the outer thing. So it's a great task, and they do it all volunteering, after a day's work. They're coming home and hanging these up. It takes quite some time, but all banners will be out and ready for display before Memorial Day weekend. And then they're also already in the planning works for the Memorial Day parade, which the supervisor is going to give a resounding speech.
Yes, I am.
So look forward to that day.
Be
It's
here
always
before
nice
we
to
know
honor.
it.
Yep. So
Very good. Thank you, Ken.
yep.
Denise?
Hi, okay. I've got some nice news to report on the Outreach Committee. Dawn Thomas and I are meeting with Leah Thomas with regard to Just for Success. They're coming in on the 30th, April 30th, to sign the contract to have Just for Success in the basement of the building here, so that's going to finally get underway. With regard to the EAC Committee, got some very exciting things happening there. We are in the midst of creating a second food scrap location. Originally, we were thinking over by Epcal, but the discussion last night was the George Young facility over in Jamesport. They're very interested in doing this, and we think it would be a great location. And just to let the public know that there are only 75 people on this program right now. However, these are notes from Jason Blizzard that during that time period, it's the 75 people, 1 ton of food scrap material a month is collected. So if we have another location, that's even more that we'll have. And they're working very well with the school, with regard to the high school and the middle school. The staff that the school has is very engaged and involved. They have their own trucks and collecting this for us for our one location pickup. So that's very successful. And Jason would like to come speak, Jason and Drew would like to come speak to the board in May about the proposal for the food scrap program at the other location. And also, again, with regard to environmentally conscious initiatives, I went to that program in February for towns associations, and there was an application for green communities purchasing. I've given that to Teresa to review for its economic viability here in the town. So that's something we get a lot of climate points with regard to that. So on those fronts, there's a lot of things happening. I'm very excited to report. With regard to the senior citizens community, we have 3 new individuals that are joining, that'll be coming on board. We'll present that to the town as well. Yes, so that's exciting. And they're working again still with regard to the guide, the senior guide, and the MAP, the My Aging Plan program. That's all coming out very soon. With regard to the parking committee, we're meeting today with proposed corral revisions for the dumpsters that are back behind the Diggers parking lot and everything over there. So that's going to be a whole lot today that we're discussing.
Good.
That looks promising. With regard to personnel, as Bob, and I apologize, Bob, I forgot to mention you that you were at that legislative update with Frank and I.
That's
I
okay.
apologize.
I don't need it. That's
No,
fine.
you were there. And, but Bob and I have been doing a lot of interviews for different personnel positions, code enforcement, administrative assistant, over in the court, a clerk there for them. So there's been a lot of hiring happening. It's great.
Good.
And as far as the Inclusion Task Force meets, that's going to meet again in May, May 1st. So that's
Okay.
coming up. And the ARB, we're always checking on the architectural review. That's meeting next week. That was supposed to meet this week, and it's now been changed to next week. And and I think that's about it. Okay.
I forgot one.
Go ahead.
It wasn't on my list. I just want to bring up, the Quality of Life Committee just met the other night. And I've reached out to the rep from the governor's office, a rep from Suffolk County in terms of the homelessness. And I've also spoken to Dan from Maureen's Haven. And I really want to thank Noreen and the people on the Quality of Life Committee. You know, in terms of, when I spoke to Dan, in terms about, look, we'd like you to move the location. They're up for it. I've spoken to somebody else through a connection of mine. It's possible we're looking, well, there's a possibility they may do a building in Southampton and split it. And we also think we identified a location for them to move to off of West Main Street. It's extremely complicated, extremely underfunded program, and programs in general, mental health, et cetera. So, and it's really rampant across both Nassau and Suffolk County. So, but they're really diligent. And the other thing that came up, and I've spoken to Andreas about this, right now if you build a house, you have to wait 3 years before you can do an accessory unit. And we're looking to change that code for a couple of different reasons. One, if you have an older child, let's say, and they have a job, right, you might build an accessory use a unit on your property. So that's the other thing that we're looking into. Southold just passed code, which I'm going to review with our planning department.
The 3-year wait period never really made any sense to me.
Exactly, it neither. I mean, I don't seem arbitrary.
Right.
Especially, so we're going to look into that. And I will mention one other thing. The other thing that we're doing with code enforcement and with Victoria is we're looking at all the fines, and we're looking at the fines when they were done. If they were 20 years old or 10 years old, and looking to update the fines on different activities. So that's about it on
I
that.
can tell you it makes a difference because so many of our fines haven't been addressed in many years. And once you start getting them up to date in comparison to what other towns are charging, in the early talks with Bill Rothar about the budget for this year, we've seen increases in revenue that's been brought in through fines like of the building department because we've upgraded stuff. And it's good for the budget because it's not necessarily money that was anticipated in having, and it becomes a surplus, and it certainly helps. Not that there's ever a big surplus, but it's better than not having a surplus.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
getting the fines up to date are huge, and it's very important to do because it shouldn't cost the town money to go out and inspect a building. The fine should cover the cost of the personnel, for the inspections, for the reviewing of the plans, for everything. Everything should be,
Well, the adjustments that we made last year, and we looked at towns all over Long Island for the fire marshals, has made a huge difference.
Yes,
And I
it
don't know
has.
if Bill has looked at it, but that's made a huge difference. And I know our yard waste permit has not been changed in over 20 years. And that is at $50. So Drew will be coming to discuss that. At the same time, we can't bang people and say, other towns, the equivalent would be $100.
Right.
That's going to be sticker shock. But the fact that we don't increase these on an annual basis, have a list and look, the equipment, just to move the yard waste around, you're talking about over $300,000 piece of equipment, plus the price of diesel fuel is probably a quarter the cost 20 years ago. So anyway, we're looking into all those metrics, and
Sure.
we'll go from there.
Good.
Supervisor,
Yes.
I apologize, may I mention
Go right
one other
ahead.
group I neglected?
Yep.
The CAP. CAP is having their event, a public event, their meet and greet. It's on April 30th between 3 and 5 p.m. Also, I wanted to mention that I had met with you, and also the new deputy Health Department Commissioner, Mr. Anthony Figliola,
Yes.
who was tremendously helpful in that I had asked him, he had spoken about an individual in the health department that goes around and speaks to schools about the dangers of vaping, and I asked if he would have that individual available. I've been in contact with him, he's placed me in contact with people. I hope to have maybe a presentation before the board in the next coming months, and also at the schools about the dangers of vaping, so thank you.
And also the use of their personnel on site when we do an inspection
Yes.
or go and maybe try to purchase something undercover, that
Yes.
they have the ability, they have the authority to remove everything from that store that's illegal.
Yes.
Where the police necessarily don't. So that was a great thing. The Department of Health was, I mean, they have such a broad spectrum of things that they cover. They handle like from a dog bite to inspecting food trucks. I mean,
Right.
and every and anything in between with water and sewer and everything else, and it's incredible. I think you said they have 675 employees
Yes.
within the Department of Health, and they certainly could use more, but it was very interesting,
Yes.
very nice man, and they look forward to working hand in hand with us, so it's great relationships
Yeah,
are being built.
great meeting.
We appreciate it.
I did forget one thing, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Board of Assessment Review. May 15th is Tax Grievance Day, so if anyone would like to come to Town Hall and grieve the assessment of your taxes, that is the day to do it. You come to the Town Hall, this meeting room, between 10 a.m. and noon, and then again from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Is the time that you can come down. So that's it.
Good. I just wanted to mention, and Devin, I want to make sure we have this up on the town website, the STOP program. I believe it's Saturday, May 4th. And it's up at the town highway grounds on Osborne Avenue. Anybody who has old paint or paint thinner or motor oil or car batteries, all that stuff, electronics,
Drugs,
yes.
too, the drugs take
And the
back as well.
drugs with the CAP program will be up there taking old drugs.
It's not the 15th? It's the what?
And that is Saturday, May 4th on the highway grounds up there, and we'll make sure we get that up also on the, excellent, perfect, thank you.
My date was wrong. It's the 21st of May. I apologize. The 21st of May for the tax grievance.
Meredith, are you eavesdropping on this work session? That's a good thing.
Thank you, Meredith. Okay, as far as open session goes, that's all we have. So I'd like to make a motion to close our work session and go into executive session where we're going to discuss items under legal. Stephen Barshov, Esquire, matters surrounding possible litigation against the town of Southampton. That will be with Howard, Prudenti, and Thomas. We have matters surrounding litigation update with the Vail Leavitt. That will be with Howard, Hurley, and Thomas. We have contractual matters, matters surrounding possible lease of real property with Prudenti. And we have personnel issues, matters surrounding a possible change in status of employees with Prudenti and MANCINI. We have matters surrounding possible hiring of an employee with Dillingham, Prudenti, and Strickland TO. And we have matters surrounding change in status of an employee with Wooten, Rothar, and Prudenti. And I wish everybody a great weekend. And from what I hear, Monday's teaming up to be almost 80 degrees and sunny, no rain. So spring maybe is going to finally make its short appearance before we go right into a hot summer. But everybody enjoy, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.